Welcome back to This is Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. With me today, I have Professor Bola Akinterewa, Professor of International Relations at Achievers University, Ondo State. Professor Anthony Kila, Professor of Strategy and Development and Institute Director at the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS, and Professor David Awurawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos. Now, let's take our second major subject of the day. After years of inactivity and negligence, the Port Harcourt Refining Company in Rivers State has resumed operations. The opening fulfills the federal government's pledge to bring on stream Phase 1 of the Port Harcourt Refinery. Earlier on Friday, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources announced the refinery's mechanical completion and flare start. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, who disclosed this while conducting a media tour of the refinery, said this signals the commencement of production of petroleum products after the Christmas holidays. And after 16 years of membership, Angola has declared it was quitting OPEC due to a contentious disagreement over output limits. Luanda has refused to accept a lower output quota set by the cartel's leaders in order to account for the nation's declining capacity to produce oil. The decision was announced by the state-owned Jornal de Angola, which quoted Minister of Mineral Resources Diamantino Azevedo. I'm now being joined here by Dr. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, a development and policy analyst, financial engineer, and investment banking executive. Great to have you on This Day Live, Dr. Obiaraeri.
Thanks, Dr. Bati.
Yes, but before we go into the oil and gas sector, there is a more urgent issue that I want to address, which is the decision of the federal government of Nigeria and perhaps, the decision of President Bola Tinubu to grant a 50% discount on bus transportation along 28 routes during this U-type period from December 21 to January 4, and also zero costs on train travel, on 3 major routes, Lagos-Ibadan, Abuja-Kaduna, and Warri-Itakwe. And, some Nigerians have said they benefited from this. To go from Lagos to Abuja is 35,000 naira. Some people have said, oh, okay, they paid 17,500, and they're excited. And we've been told by government, by both Mr. Dele Alake and Mr. Mohammed Idris, the Minister of Information, that in fact this will be a regular thing. When it suits government will declare transportation like this. So this is to ease the cost of transportation, to ease the pain of high cost of fuel. What do you think of this measure?
Dr. Bati, this is a form of subsidy. Subsidy for how many days? Give or take 10 days out of 365 days. I am not a believer in unstructured subsidy schemes that are not transparently structured and executed. Dr. Bati, if you look back, the average transport from Lagos to Onitsha today is about 45,000 naira, up by almost about 200% from what it used to be from January to November. And of course, for somebody who used to pay 15,000 to make a trip or 20,000, now paying 45, 50,000, and you're giving him 50% subsidy. The same, what he's actually paying is actually more than what he's really supposed to pay. And what is the income level here in Nigeria? Just 11 days. And how do we even regulate and be sure and ensure that, count how many people enjoy the largesse, how was the payment made and all the rest of it? Dr. Bachi, I will tell you this. This is another opportunity for, just like we had during the subsidy of petroleum sector, for some unscrupulous element in the public sector, inflate the numbers, do whatever games they would do with transport operators, and then make away with massive loot from Nigerian treasury. I'm so saddened by this. Some people would think, oh, we are enjoying it. But 11 days out of 365 days, Dr. Bati does not count it for me. We made a proposal to the federal government of Nigeria even before the removal of subsidy. I will share the article with you on what we can actually do. Subsidy in the transport sector that does not enhance productivity, that is not transparent, will not in any way and form move this economy forward or add value to Nigeria and Nigerians. And what was the simple proposal? We actually know that the very major cost that is affected by the removal of petroleum is transport costs. Transport costs affect all costs across all lines. And what did we suggest to the federal government? Nigeria has 774 local government areas based on landmass. Very simple. In every local government area, provide at least 20 articulated 18-seater buses. From the savings from subsidy, we know that the removal of subsidy will have saved Nigeria, if transparently applied, nothing less than 18 trillion annually. Simple things done simply. Provide 20 80-seater articulated buses under a PPP arrangement. 4 haulage trucks and 4 coastal in every local government area. Trucks that are metered. You can work with the GIGCs, the Chiscos, and the registered transport companies. What is the arrangement? This will create nothing less than 1 million jobs. Get the companies like Innocent and other companies that are operating in Nigeria to assemble most of these buses. You cannot import it because it will put pressure on our foreign reserve. The arrangement is very simple. Nigerians will use those buses at subsidized rate. But a subsidized rate that is properly regulated. You will register with your name. You will have a card. The buses are metered in such a very transparent form. And what would this do for us? For you to participate in enjoying this, you must have your name. You must have your tax identification number. These things will even help us to enlarge the tax net. Transparently done. We will have over 25,000 buses and articulated vehicles applying across Nigeria. Government will have a transparent arrangement on this. It will create job. The monies you invested in this will also be returned back over a period of time.
Just a moment, Dr. Obiaraeri. What you are describing is a long-term proposal.
It's not long-term.
No, why I say it's long-term is because what we've been told by government spokespersons is that this is what has been done around this U-type period is an expression of the president's love for Nigerians and to allow people to be able to get to their various villages and hometowns during this festive period. So the government did not say this is the be-all, end-all solution.
Dr. Abati, wait until they bring the report on the bill on this. You will come to understand what I'm talking about. Just wait. After this period, wait until they announce the amount of money they spent on this. You will understand. Was it not how in 2020, when we had COVID lockdown, the humanitarian affairs told us they spent 165 billion feeding small kids, school kids that were at home. It's Dr. Abati. Unstructured subsidies arrangement like this open up the space for corruption.
You are saying invariably you don't trust.
I don't trust it.
But it's a public-private partnership. I mean, only 5 companies have been selected to manage the 28 bus
Dr.
routes.
Abati, wait.
It's not as if it's open sesame.
Dr. Abati, the children's school feeding game was also PPP. Many people were invited, people that cook and all those stuff. Dr. Abati, wait until they bring the bill. Wait, and you will understand this.
What if they don't announce the bill?
Dr. Abati, but it's the same thing. Why do we always adopt ad hoc measures on things? Dr. Abati, this government is almost about May 29th. Dr. Abati, this thing I've told you does not take skyrocket science to execute. It's not even going to be done nationally. It's states, local government areas. It will not cost much. Very structured arrangement. And we even use it to increase the tax net. You only participate in it when you show your name and your tax identification number. These things are so simple. Now, how do we know those who enjoy the largest? How even do we know they don't even have benefit from it? It is what we are told that we will know. But under such a social arrangement, Dr. Abati, you can easily measure the impact, social impact. You can easily see the success stories behind it. I do not believe in any unstructured subsidy arrangements put in place by any government at any level. It only breeds corruption, and that is the truth. We've been on this path over the last 23 years. Can we stop this?
Okay, maybe the people who have enjoyed free rides on the train routes that I listed earlier on.
Dr. Abati, look at the train.
Maybe
you saw the report. Annually, we spend over 10 billion naira on this train. They don't make up to 1 billion naira revenue annually. Go and check their records. Consistently. Dr. Abati, we didn't borrow billions of dollars to do this rail line, to incur losses and all those stuff. Here is the social services. Dr. Abati, United States, United Kingdom, land mass of 240,000 square kilometers, rail network of 16,000 kilometers, as efficient as the UK public service system is. In 1993, they decided to concession and commercialize most of their rail network operation, from rail operation to train or passenger operation. They privatized it. Today in the UK, most people have abandoned their vehicle. They use the rail network. Nigeria can adopt the same model. We cannot reinvent the wheel. Rail transport cost is actually cheaper than truck transport cost. Today in Nigeria, the average truck cost per cargo mile per ton is about 92 naira. In India, it's 15 naira. If you apply train, we can bring it down to 14 naira per ton. These are very simple things that can be done when we have the right people with the right mind, manning the right public. See, Nigeria can actually develop over 12,000 kilometer rail line over the next 10 years. If we apply this model, the federal government of Nigeria, National Assembly, having good reason, privatize, open up the rail network space for states and local government areas to participate. I expect the biggest route in Nigeria today is the Lagos, Shagamu, Ijebu-Ode, Benin, Ore, Asaba, Onitsha, Owerri, to Port Harcourt, Seko, Bakaba, Umuahia, Enugu, Oka, Abakaleke, back to Asaba. If we have the right thinking people, we can't even vote for the federal government alone. I expect the governors of these 8 states, Lagos, Ogun State, Ondo State, Edo State, Delta State, Imo, Anambra, Abia, to sit down. How do we fashion a PPP scheme in this most lucrative rail route under a PPP arrangement for 45 years DBOT arrangement? Dr. Patti, we've done the numbers on this. If they can do it, it's a very simple structure. Bring a world-class rail operator. Ghana is doing it 300 kilometers. The rail operator will own 40%. Each of the states will set up an SPV that will make them to own 2.5% each. Then, if you open up that space and make Nigerians invest, I can tell you, out of the 5 million diaspora Nigerians, even local Nigerians at Subsidies, they can invest $1,000 each. Well, Dr. Patti, it will cost about $8 billion to do, and this thing can be done seamlessly.
Except that in Nigeria, these things are easier said than done.
Dr. It has been done elsewhere. Ghana is doing it. In South Africa, go to other places. UK did it. Dr. Patti, you cannot reinvent the wheel. You borrow from what had been done in other climes. Go to Malaysia, go to Singapore. When we talk about CNG, people will say, oh, is it workable? It's working in Pakistan. The same demography, the same thing. 3,229 CNG filling stations. 3 million cars on CNG.
Okay, Dr. Obiaraeri, let's talk about oil and gas, right? What is, we've been hearing mechanical completion of the Port Harcourt refinery. When the Dangote refinery came on stream, they've been able to get up to about 2 million barrels of crude, which they can use to produce, derivatives, not necessarily PMS at first instance, right? So yeah, we know that there's some certainty in that regard, and that can be proven. Standard & Poor, they've confirmed it, other agencies have confirmed it. But what is this mechanical completion of a refinery? What does that mean in real terms? And it said flare startup. Does it mean the Port Harcourt refinery, whose capacity is about 60,000 barrels, processing of 60,000 barrels of crude per day, not a big volume? Of what significance is a mechanical completion? Dr. Patti,
I don't want to get myself involved with politics of the minister's speech. The same minister went to Owerri and declared that the Watersmith refinery just started operations and they've increased capacity. But the truth is that Watersmith has been in operation over the last 4 years. And Watersmith has never increased capacity. In fact, as of today, they produce about 20 trucks of AGO and other byproducts. The Watersmith second train will only come on stream 2025. So, but going on live TV to carry propaganda is not the way to build a nation. I'm very excited that the Port Harcourt refinery will work. I remember in 2019, they said, they are going to start work on it. 2019 till now, we are in 2023, December, and they are talking about mechanical completion for it after. Dr. Patti, go and look at the history of refinery building in Nigeria. The first refinery that was built in Nigeria was built under Tafawa Balewa between 1963 and 1965. 2 years. Gowon commissioned Warri and Port Harcourt. The same time, 75, 76 before he was taken out of power. Between 1975 to 1979, 2 refineries were completed, brand new from scratch, period of 4 years. Babangida did the second phase of Port Harcourt and we're moving into 150,000 barrels. In 4 years, I do not understand why it is taking us 23 years.
They've been on this since 2012.
2012. So, Dr. Bati, now let me explain to you. You know, I'm an Igbo man. There's an Igbo adage that says a cow that is owned by the public sometimes suffer hunger because nobody is taking care of it. Angola is taking the right step. One of the problems we have in it because we know what to do. I am one of the strong advocates. We have passed the PIB bills. Look at the physical terms of oil and gas operation in Angola, in Guyana, in Namibia that is just coming up, and compare with what we have here. You will see why we have a problem. In South Africa, Africa does not even produce up to 1% of the kind of crude we produce here. But Shell and Total and the rest of them have refined in South Africa with a combined refining capacity of 504,000 barrels a day. Why is this so? Because of the fiscal terms and regime there. Why are we not getting it right here? I've been an apostle. The NNPC today, as it is being controlled, is not like the BP, the British Petroleum, or the Petronas, or the Petrobras. I am one of the strongest advocates for NNPC to work to its utmost efficiency. The federal government of Nigeria must sincerely divest 55% of its holding in all its asset and shareholding to deep-pocketed and technically savvy private sector investors, whether foreign or local. That will net in over $35 billion into operational accounts. And over the next 2 years, with the kind of transparent fiscal terms that Angola has engaged in, if we can replicate it, we can bring in additional $50 billion into Nigeria oil and gas industry. The only way this thing will work, see, Dr. Bati, to make the NNPC Limited work efficiently as the NLNG, we must adopt the same organization, management, and physical structure. The NLNG is owned 51% by private sector, 49% by government. Therefore, the president or the minister or anybody cannot be traveling every weekend to go and see whether they have mechanical completion or whatever. There's a board efficiently run that gives timeline, appoints those that will do the job. If you don't do it, they get you kicked out. Have you bothered to ask yourself, why is it possible for Gowon and Obasanjo to do 3 refineries in 4-5 years? Okay. And then the civilians cannot even repair one in 23 years. Does it make sense to you? Okay. So the only way we can get the NNPC to work is for the federal government of, as a matter of sincerity, divest 55% of its holdings to private sector investors so as to bring in the transparency, the efficiency, the accountability that we have in LNG, in NNPC Limited.
Okay, I've heard some people say if the Port Harcourt refinery can work, the Warri refinery can work, the Kaduna refinery can work, plus the Dangote refinery, that, look, this will bring down the pump price of fuel. Are Nigerians being too optimistic? And this Port Harcourt refinery, that they say mechanical completion. How about process engineering? Has it been subjected to temperature tests, pressure tests, flow engineering, to determine even the output? Do they have the supply of crude like the Dangote refinery? When will it start producing? Even if it's not PMS, if it is derivatives, maybe LPFO or HPFO.
Dr. Bati, any corporation that is under public sector control, you will always have this controversy. Politicians will always be politicians. They will lie, they will put on propaganda, they will embellish things just to score cheap political points. If Plant Eleme was a public sector company before it was privatized to Indorama. For 15 years, we were making losses. Indorama took over that place in 2005, I think 2006. Today, that place is making money for them and Nigeria. If Indorama tells me they are going to do this, they will give you a timeline. You will see what they are doing. In private sector or a private sector led under APP agreement, you will see the terms, you will see when, the what, and where it is going to. But in government, it's all about politics. It's all about storytelling. See, if anybody is telling you, I'm one of the strongest believers that Nigeria can actually control supply of refined product across the whole sub-Saharan African space. I will give you an example why. The only difference in the cost element will be freight cost. Because the man who is bringing products from Azerbaijan or bringing products from Rotterdam, by the time he gets to get his vessel to stay at offshore Lome to get the daughter vessel that will go and pick it, he may incur a lot of demurrage. So the only cost that will be different is the freight cost. There's not going to be massive crash. because it's the same going to be crude, market priced crude that are going to buy. The same efficiency. If your own refinery is efficient, you're able to refine at 10 naira per barrel or $10 per barrel. Somebody is doing at $9 per barrel. That person is more efficient than you. So basically, I want more refineries in Nigeria. And I also want Nigeria to consider the Angola route. Because I cannot understand why a country that was able to do 2.5 million barrels a day, crude and condensate in 2011, is struggling to do 1.2, 1.3. And that same boils down to the physical terms that we have in place. What were we doing in 2011 that worked for us, that we are not doing now? And the issue of security, Dr. Patti, security is indigenous. If we want, even the LNG that we say is efficient, the LNG is operating at 60% efficiency because most of their pipelines are being sabotaged. The same issue that the crude oil is having with NNPC. So if we want to fix the security architecture...
Wait a moment. You've mentioned Angola. What are you suggesting? If you say Nigeria should go the Angola route, are you saying Nigeria should also pull out of OPEC?
Dr. Patti, Nigeria should consider that.
Why?
Why? Like I've said, today we have over...
We depend on export. OPEC is an export organization.
OPEC is like a cartel that plays a role in determining price of crude oil.
Yeah.
There's no other incentive that are bringing to the table. Dr. Patti.
No, that's because we can't add value to what we have.
That is, we are saying the same thing, Dr. Patti. We can actually add value.
So even if we pull out, we don't have the capacity to add value.
Dr. Patti, we can add value. And the only way we can add value is to rejig the physical terms. And what are the physical terms? To put in place the policies, the regulations, the terms and conditions that will make here an attractive heaven, that will bring in accountability. I have talked about security. When we pass the PIB, we were talking about, how do we secure the pipeline? The only people that can secure the pipeline are the communities. When they were trying to pass this PIB, we submitted a memoranda to the National Assembly. And we made them to understand that if you look at Nigeria between 1960 and 1966, here, things worked for us because there was a physical and resource control regime that gave control of resources to indigenous people. When you involve the communities, okay, for every of the communities where the pipelines are, where the assets are, you involve them in security for an incentives. You cannot have one man and you pay him 10 billion naira to provide pipeline security. When the man is not God, he stays in one corner. But if you involve the communities, maybe say 1,000 communities within that area, okay, and the communities know they are going to benefit, there's going to be penalty and incentives. Each community will sacrifice their lives to ensure that you don't tamper with assets that pass through their communities.
Angola pulls out of OPEC because it's not satisfied with the quota of 1.1 million barrels per day that OPEC Plus gave it at the last meeting. You are saying Nigeria should go the same way. Now in Nigeria, we have the crisis of crude oil theft. If we say we'll stand alone and go alone, I've told you, we have no capacity to add value. We're in the export market. Would that also solve the problem of crude oil theft, which is a major challenge?
Patti, I have given you solution to the crude oil theft. Dr. Patti, when did this crude oil theft even start? Can you ask yourself this question? Why? How did this start? Dr. Patti, were there no thieves in Nigeria in 2011 when we were doing 2.5 million barrels a day? Were there no thieves in Nigeria in 2014 when we were doing 2.3 million barrels a day? What are the physical terms? Security is indigenous. If we know what is good for us, involve the communities. Dr. Patti, when they were passing the PIB, we made a submission. We
have seen members of the communities involved in crude oil theft.
Dr. Patti, if for example,
many of their sons are involved in crude oil theft.
The crude oil theft you're talking about. Dr. Patti, do you know the GMD of NNPC told us that we lose over $1.9 billion of crude every month, 22 billion every year. Dr. Patti, that is about 1 million barrels every day, give or take. Dr. Patti, do you know what it takes to steal crude oil out of Nigeria? There is no poor villager. What you see, there's people taking one drum to go and cook, to do oil fire. The real thieves are in place of power. And the only way you can stop it is to give incentives to the community. Say, okay, out of this revenue, every community will get 3% of whatever comes through this. Empower the operators there, just like we have the White Water Group, to set up their own security outfit with the communities. Dr. Patti, this crude oil theft will stop. The truth is, we know what to do. Between 1960 and 1966 in Nigeria, Dr. Patti, we never had anything like armed robbery, militancy, kidnapping, and all manner of reasons we have today. Because we had a physical resource control and governance framework that gave more powers and authority to the constituent units. We had state police, the regional police. The police of the eastern Nigeria was so efficient that they were hired to go and make peace in Congo. They didn't call for the federal police. We know what to do. Security is indigenous. Bringing somebody from Pambegwa to go and protect oil assets in Borokiri, when he can go there and make money. But if you bring the Borokiri man and say, okay, this community, these assets are in your community, for every revenue, working with the operators, you have 3% or 5%, and it's defined. Total party, they will protect those assets. And they will not allow anybody coming from any other place to come and sabotage them. The truth is, we know what to do as a country. But those are the place of authority and power with the power given to them to not want to do. Because if they do it, it will stop the flow of the criminal revenues.
Okay, let's go back to the refineries. We've been told that one has been mechanically completed, whatever that means, and also that in 2024, the other plants will start running. Should we take their word for it?
Dr. Bati, like I told you last time I was in your studio, we keep on hoping. I am not there to know what they've done. But if we are to go from the stories and from the history of we've done this, we will start tomorrow, we will be having the same stories over the last 23 years. 2024 is around the corner. Let's wait till 2024 to see what will happen. Even the private one that was commissioned in March, nothing has come out of it. It's all about politics. We know what to do. Dr. Bati, NNPC should divest 55%. The federal government should divest 55% of their holding. If you make the NNPC as efficient as LNG, and then tweak the PIB to involve the communities, and then tweak the physical terms to allow the operators of the oil and gas assets within the onshore category to work with the communities and protect those assets. Dr. Bati, there's no way anybody will bring a vessel of 100,000 barrels a day to come and steal crude without the community catching the person. All this is, you see, they will just catch one badge and they will burn it. Come on, let us stop deceiving ourselves.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, for joining us on this Live Day Sunday Talk Show. Thank you very much indeed, and I wish you a Merry Christmas.
Same.